Welcome everybody. Before we launch into today, I want to announce our winner for yesterday. The challenge was, how are you playing with there are no accidents? And we had one person respond quite beautifully. So Melanie, congratulations. You have won the Transformation Meditation CD. If you have not experienced this one before, it's so awesome. It's a meditation in a tight little package deal where it's like, boom, there you are, zooming into transformation. So can't wait to share that with you. Thanks so much for playing. So today, oh, good. So she hasn't heard it before. Today is all about next steps and integration. Before I dive into my slides, my question for you is, have you ever had an experience where it's like, you've taken something in, whether it's information, it's a practice, you've had a retreat and it's all amazing and it's all exciting and it's so juicy. And then you re-enter the flow of life and it's like, and then maybe every once in a while you pick it back up, but it's like, it just doesn't have the same va boom that it did when it was held in that beautiful container. Anyone out there had that experience before? Yeah. So I'm here to say that when I began this journey in 2009, and it was like, I've been talking about it all week. It was like so powerfully transformative, right outside the box. And there was a lot that I was engaged in that first year, but there was a level that I didn't quite get to in terms of grounding and integration of everything I was opening to until 2010, when I started my Dragon's Way Qigong instructor training, which I find to be very interesting because it just was like there was a piece here, there was a piece there, and then I had my practice, and there was all these different parts, but they weren't integrated together in my experience as a whole. So, and when I opened up into the instructor training, it was like this container that took all those different pieces. It took the piece of the energy practice. It took that connection to the 5 elements. It took that connection to eating for healing, and it wove it all together into this intensive program, the 6-week intensive program. And of course, once I opened into the container and started diving in, it just got deeper and deeper and deeper. So really, I don't feel like I began to hit my own integration until I started diving into that container for myself. So it'll be a piece of what we talk about today. Pull up the slides. So part of the reason why, I feel there's value in that, and it's not that the Dragon's Way program is the only thing out there that, can create that kind of thing. There's something about the structure. There's something about being in a group. And there's multiple different levels, because it's just like us sharing this experience over the past 5 days. We are sharing it together. We're connecting together through these sessions. We're connecting together through the portal of the website, of the webpage, the Facebook page. But then the other piece that becomes so, so powerful, and I think anyone who's ever done any practice knows, it's wonderful to have a practice and do it solo on your own. It's very, very important. But there's something different about when you do it in a group. And I think there's levels of just accountability, there's levels of connection, and then there's that energetic level that when you're connecting together, you raise each other's foundation together. So that happens in this practice, not only with the level of connecting through doing the Qigong together as a group, even across Zoom, because I've witnessed it. The 2 sessions that I have had on Zoom have been just as profound as when I used to lead classes in person. So there's that piece of it, but also because this journey of exploring how everything is connected, all of the organ functions, and shifting our mindset from that place of fear and distrust and all the different places we can go when we're experiencing different things in our body, to this place of like, wow, this is my guide. That's a huge shift that each of us are making. And it's a lifelong journey of building that relationship and that connection. So when you share together in a group, we all benefit together through our mutual experience. It's like we elevate each other's understanding through sharing in that group learning process. So that's another piece of why the container is so powerful. So this is just a review of everything that we've been tapping into. And instead of doing that, I'll just show the little image again. So remembering at the beginning, we were all about opening to the guides, focusing on that liver, kidney, stomach, diving deeper into the stomach and how we support our digestive system and tap into the healing foods. Oh, Jean, thank you. I have mung bean, I don't know what you want to call it, mung bean lemonade. So, and I know this session wasn't recorded, and those of you, now you get her recipe. So when Jean cooks her mung bean, she saves the mung bean water, and then she adds a little bit of lemon to it. So the mung bean is so, so powerful for the liver. So my little twist is I sweetened it up with a little bit of honey. So it's really, really good. Thank you. So just was thinking of that, the eating for healing. Then we moved into emotions, energy and motion, and how those impact each and every one of our organs. And then yesterday we connected into the level of spirit and purpose. So today is about how do we bring all that together and integrate it into our daily life in a very a way that becomes, it allows us to not only impact our own healing, but to start to shift and transform everything as we experience it in our lives, in our homes, in our relationships. Yes, so that's part of the reason why I show this. So part of my reality is I have 4 children. So the dude on my right shoulder, he just turned 14 yesterday. The giggly one, who's, I can't point to her, but she'll turn 16 on July 5th. The little munchkin by my face, she's 5. The one in the rainbow suit, she's 10. The puppy's way bigger now. He was like that big for a moment. And now he's as big as my 5-year-old, if not bigger, actually. I think he's taller than she is. So part of my reason for showing this is like, I really get it. So many levels of get it, of like, I've been practicing, how can I integrate this into my parenting? How can I integrate this into the way I set up my home and the way I connect with my husband? And, how do I do this? How does every moment become practice? So we talked a little bit, I think yesterday, you have the practice, you learn the structure of the practice, and then you have the practice within the practice, you building that connection and relationship to the energy of the practice. And then you have, why do we do these practices at all? It's because of daily life. That's the practice beyond the practice. That's why we do it, right? So that we can be in such a state of energetic alignment and connection that we can begin to access and tap into these different things. And it just elevates our experience of all of life. So, yeah, I think I said that without needing to read my slide. You get it. Now, an important aspect of this is to know that, and we talked about this a little bit yesterday when I had my conversation with Lori. Healing, I had this beautiful opening, like I used to always use the onion layers. One day I was walking in a labyrinth and the labyrinth said to me, why don't you use me as an analogy? Because I'm less stinky and I don't make people cry. Well, sometimes people cry. Tears can be good. But the idea is that, if you've ever walked into a labyrinth, or even if this is actually something in my office, even tracing your finger in it is very interesting because you feel like you're going nowhere. And it's sometimes you feel like you're stuck. But if you keep moving forward, eventually you get to the center where the truth lies. So in a way, every single experience that we're having, a physical experience, a diagnosis, emotional experiences, things that are happening in our life, there's always these multidimensional layers that are interconnected to each other. And that spirit, the purpose of why that's there, is always at the center of it all. And all of us are on a journey of self-discovery. And every experience along that path is there for a purpose and a reason. I like to say that, no matter what, when you really launch to this level of a journey, everything is there for a purpose. So it's not, you may feel sometimes like you're circling, like you're going nowhere, like you're stuck, or even like you're moving backwards. But those moments are actually the most transformative. The moments where, I mean, it's lovely to be in that state of like, yeah, everything's flowing. But when we have those moments where we may feel lost or stuck, that's when we really can tap into these gifts. That's where like the nuggets are. That's where the breakthrough is. And the more that you practice and the more that you integrate, the more quickly you shift through those moments. So like, you know, in my own experience, what used to set me up for a week in my closet, miserable and stuck, now it may be just like a few minutes of like, all right, I know what I got to do to work with the emotions, be with the emotions, open my energy, and it's like, boom, then it just opens up. I want to share a story that I meant to share on the day that we talked about emotions that I thought can help you understand. So like, does this mean that like it's going to be like forever for every single, you know, experience that we're processing? No, not at all. You know, the shortcut, like we were talking about yesterday, being able to connect into the spirit and purpose when all these things are coming up, when you're open to that, the processing happens more quickly. So what I meant to share on the day of emotions is I had a patient who came in that morning, and she, in general, she doesn't have a lot of complaints. She's just like been really open to how can I help support my energy? You know, I'm at a certain age. I'm like, that's great. Yeah, excellent. This is a great way to do that. And she had done the Dragon's Way Qigong program as well. So she is a philanthropist, and she was on her way to a meeting. And in this meeting, it was going to be like she had the opportunity to speak about her, you know, charity and to ask for money. And in general, she doesn't have a problem with public speaking. But all of a sudden, when she arrived at the meeting and other people began to speak, she got triggered. So there was one woman who spoke who she hadn't prepared anything for this. My patient hadn't prepared anything to speak. She was just going to speak from her heart. And there was a woman who had like a whole structured way of presenting. And for whatever reason, in that moment, she just spun out on the inside. She panicked and she just was like in an anxious state. And so after the meeting, she recovered. But what happened was she developed intense neck pain. So she has a pre-existing, and this is part of what we were talking about before with the idea of like, if you have an MRI, if you have an X-ray and it shows bone on bone arthritis, or if it's in this woman's case, she has a slip disc in her cervical spine. So that's pre-existing. And in fact, she's never even told me about it because it doesn't usually cause her pain. So when she had this intense emotional experience, all of a sudden it's like everything contracted in her neck. So the processing of that was pretty quick for her. Maybe it was a couple of hours after the emotional experience, she had the physical experience show up. So almost immediately she was able to connect the dots, like, oh, I see. So this physical experience was connected to the emotional experience, was connected to what was the purpose of this showing up, showing that how she needed, what at the core of what was going on is that, she was doubting herself, right? And she knows that if she had spoken from her heart, it would have been beautiful and it would have been perfect. It was like all these other emotions that got in the way. And when she made the connection and brought to consciousness what was going on, the neck pain went away like almost immediately. And she was doing her Qigong and stuff too. But so it's really remarkable. And I've had those experiences as well, where when you are able to make those connections, how much more quickly we process, and then we break through, and it takes us to this higher level of connection and understanding of, our life journey. But also it helps with the function of our organs. So the more that you're integrating this and practicing it in daily life, the greater ease you have with that process. Claudia, all right, let me get us out of screen share. And I'm going to pin my Claudia, and I'm going to ask you to unmute. Okay, I can't hear you. Oh, you're still muted, love. Let me see if I can unmute you. Okay. Can you unmute yourself, love? Oh, there you are.
I did. Now
there you are.
I can't see you. that's okay, I guess. You can see me.
I can see you. Do you have it in speaker view?
I don't have the Zoom on right now. Just one second here. I'm sorry.
It's okay. You can talk to me without seeing me.
I
It's
had
still a powerful connection.
buttons open and there you are. There you are. And it hit the wrong one when I tried to go unmute. So I'm here.
She's here. She's here. And I'm so grateful that you're here, Claudia. So guys, when I first began to offer Dragon's Way Qigong into the world, or was going to even begin to like, oh, I'm going to put it out there. It was right after I moved back to Indiana. So I lived out east for 5 years. And so this was in like 2013. I think it was May of 2013. And I was so excited and I was going to do it. And it just wasn't the right time and space, but I still did an introduction to the class at what this used to be where the Playful Soul was in Broad Ripple. And I had a lovely turnout. And one of the people who came was Claudia. And I didn't actually have the opportunity to align my time and space and everything to begin teaching until the fall of 2014. And who was like the first person to sign up? Claudia. So I think I want to let you put in your own words what your experience has been. Claudia has taken, I don't even know how many Dragon's Way Qigong classes with me and how many Digesting the Universe classes with me, and has been a patient since I opened my doors in December of 2014. And it's been a beautiful, beautiful journey. And it's been, my goal in my practice is, of course, to awaken you to your own intuitive guidance. And then I'm here really just, I mirror back to you what I can see maybe with more clarity than you're able to in that moment, just because of different things that get blocked and stuck. So Claudia is a beautiful example. She always comes with her lists every time. Not as much lately.
No,
Not as much lately. Yeah. So it's been beautiful to watch the evolution from when we first started and all the different things that were going on with you then that kind of freaked me out. And again, I want you to talk to that, to where you're at now. And so take it away, wherever you want to start with all this.
Well, I'll start at the very beginning that I did see you in Broad Ripple, and I knew the minute I saw you that I had to follow you. That's like what I wanted, Debki. I wanted to have a place where I could concentrate on wellness and not on sickness, which is what I felt like our medical doctors and which is why I come with the list, because that's sort of what you've been trained to do, is write down all the symptoms and go to look for a solution to each one of them. So I have been trying to break myself of that and not been using it as much. But I had extremely high blood pressure. I was on 4 different blood pressure medications. I went to 4 different cardiologists, and they all told me that there was nothing they could do except maybe give me another medication. And I needed to lose weight and I needed to cut out salt in my diet. And then I would be fine. But I didn't feel fine and I felt awful. My mouth, well, you just have to put up with the side effects of whatever. So I started going to Melissa, and it's taught me to slow down. I thought at first, again, the Western mentality that there would be an answer. And once I learned how to do this, I would be well and happy and everything. And I learned from Whitney, another one of her patients, that it's just a roller coaster. But I think you had it in one of your slides on something that the roller coaster used to go, and now it goes little dips and little dips. They're not as deep and wide, because I know how to catch myself. And I realize I have a really good toolbox now. I follow you wherever I can get to you. And I didn't hear you, but I missed Tuesday because I had an eye doctor appointment. I don't think of when something bothers me, I don't think about, oh, well, I do think sometimes because it's still on TV and radio and every place you go. But it's like, if my eyes are bothering me, it's not like, oh, I wonder if I have macular degeneration. It's like, oh, liver energy's talking again. I've started thinking in terms of what is that telling me? And I actually was having trouble sleeping last night at 2:00. And so I got up and I stood in Dragon stands between heaven and earth, 10 minutes. And I slept until 9:00 this morning. I just went right back and fell sound asleep, and that was it. So One of my favorite tools that I didn't hear you mention was the spirit gates. I use those all the time. Did we talk about that at all? The 4
For
gates. Yeah.
energy gates?
Yes. We talk about those in this time at all. I
We
do.
didn't. We didn't. So maybe that's something I need to do soon as a follow-up to this. What do you think?
Yes, because my husband says, does that fix everything? Because anytime somebody tells me that they have a stomach ache or a headache, and I mean, even if I just feel my stomach getting tight, I'm with the first one right there at your thumb. At night when I wake up, I'm doing the one. And my biggest story, I guess, was when COVID broke out. I I had listened to Cuomo describe his symptoms on the Good Morning America and how he had this pounding headache that he couldn't sleep with at all. And I was thinking how terrible it was. And I was cleaning the house, and all of a sudden, I got this pounding headache. And I'm like, oh, you're just thinking about what he said. But I kept trying to get rid of it. It just got louder and louder and was pounding, and it would not go away. And I was panicking because my husband has health issues. And I was like, what if I get it? What if I brought it home to him? So I went to the bedroom and I did the 4 energy gates, and it went away and it never came back. And right then I was like, okay, I'm in. So is there, I don't know what, I think, I noticed things and somebody yesterday was asking about the consciousness, like the conscious community and what that meant. And for me, I didn't want to answer because I'm not, it's not my space, but I have learned from your classes that usually whatever I say is what was supposed to be said. Even when I think it's irrelevant, 10 people would pop up and say, oh, that's exactly what I was thinking, or that's what I needed to hear. So
Mm.
the consciousness part of it, I remember coming a couple months ago and I had a stuck limb out in the tree. And I said, I'm stuck like my limb. And you said, it's just not time for it to come out. And I had done everything. I had pressed from the bottom, trying to punch that limb out. I tried pulling from the side, and it came back from your place and it fell out on the ground. And so when I see stuck limbs now, I just leave them and wait for them to fall.
Would you mind, so that the picture of the flower that I had before I popped out of
Yes.
part of the reason why I wanted to bring Claudia on, because I feel like when you came to me with your observation, right, and that's consciousness, right? Your practice has become at such a high level where you are making these recognitions. It's not like I need to just show them to you. You're making them, and there's such powerful reflections on you and your experience. So can you talk about the beautiful peony?
Yeah. So the pink,
Oh, I ate it, by the way. I didn't tell you that.
you did?
I scrambled it into eggs because I was like, oh, the spirit of this flower. When it was done being in my office, it was, yeah. So thank you.
Well, the
Go
peony,
ahead. Tell us the story of that beautiful peony.
well, the peonies, I didn't know, I didn't know where to plant them. So I planted it near a little barn where my husband keeps his tractor, his lawnmower, and they weren't getting enough sun. And so they kept leaning out, leaning out, leaning out, and they weren't doing very well. So I had the gardeners pick it up and move it when I had the yard landscape last year, but they missed part of it. And so this one little peony was left there, and it kept doing the same thing. It kept going out and out and out. And it had like a 2-foot stem on it, and it was broke. It was cracked. And my husband said, it's broken. Take it off. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to. So I just sort of propped it up against the barn and left it for like another day, maybe day and a half. And it bloomed. It bloomed beautifully. So I cut it off and brought it to Melissa. And then I found out from the ones in the little one bloomed also. So even after it had been cut and chopped and put in water, it just kept going. But I
Mhm.
also have another whole garden of they are violas. They have come up around my house in cracks in the driveway, in the bricks between the patio, and this year, instead of pulling them up or whatever, I just took one whole area and put a Spanish sign there that says hope, esperanza, and I planted them
Mhm.
all. And now I have, and my husband keeps going, he goes, you didn't buy any of those? And I'm like, nope. I just keep moving them over here. And now they outline the whole drive, or not the driveway, but the patios. So I've seen a lot of um, consciousness in my garden this year.
Yeah. So that's such a beautiful representation of what we were talking about with building the strength of the liver through connecting, right? So gardening, I mean, whether you don't have to be at that level, like I'm not, I'm not, I've got too many kids I'm tending to. But if you're at the level where you're actually doing the gardening, that's huge. But just to be an observer in that way of watching the way different plants grow and respond. And like, I can't show you right now, but hello, who notices how much more abundant everything is this year than it was last year? Like I have a vine on the outside of this building that like, I think last year it was like I was weaving it into this little grate that I have out there to guide it. It has eaten my house on the outside. It looks like so it's it helps you when you observe those things with consciousness. You don't necessarily like the thing about thinking at that higher intuitive level, the spirit level, things aren't always linear. Most of the time, there's all different kinds of circles. And if you're open, you're able to just hold in the space of wonder, and then you start to make those different, it seems like I forget what it's called, incongruent or whatever, those leaps of connections, those as ooh moments, as Grandmaster Lu says, where that ooh ming, W-U, ooh. Yeah, and the more that you allow yourself to be the conscious observer, the more they come in and the more they reveal to you, because all of nature is like, I have so much to teach you. So you've been a beautiful example of that. And, I'd say the other thing I really want to appreciate about Claudia is like what she said, like, I realized like, wow, I can't remember the last time she came in with her notebook and a list. So that just goes to show that you are building that trust in your own inner guidance. Like I mean, it's like, it's fine. It's, we all, me included, it's good to have a point of reflection. Like, okay, yeah, I got this, right? Someone who, I don't even see it as like, we're partners, right? It's like we're cooperative partners on this, that we're, I'm supporting you as a guide, but we're also supporting each other in a way. So that's a big part of what this is a collaborative journey together. So, maybe just as a final thing, because you have one of the things that I think is unique, because most of the time people would think like, why would I want to take the same class again? Can you speak from your experience why, how it feels different, how it's been different? I mean, you've been taking the same class with me since 2014. So before I use my own words to explain it, can you explain why it keeps drawing you back and how it's different?
Yes. Well, the first time I met you, you handed me books, tea, beans, barley, exercises, and then I know it's a little much, but I can't take it all in at once. So that's the first thing. But even yesterday, every time, as I was listening to you this week, the spirit gate breathing that you did, I've been doing it like I was a bellows. I missed the part about going slowly, which I tend to do a lot, right? I have to slow down all the time. You also didn't tell them about doing thumbs in the car, but I do that when I'm driving. And I heard you the other day. I was like, oh, slow, because I'm going. Do, 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 do. So I'm like, all right, slow down. And then what is the message? I think I keep hearing slow down everywhere from everything that I do. But yeah, every time I take it, I meet wonderful people, new people. I mean, I love all the people that I've met. I keep hoping, I come back sometimes hoping I'll run into some of those people again. And yeah, I just always had a great experience. So, and I love the energy. And I can also speak to what you were saying, that it's way different than doing it by yourself. It is the accountability, but it's much more than that. The power, it feels more powerful when there's more people around.
Yeah.
You feel
So
like,
yeah, definitely. I love that you called me out on that, right? So because this is an embodiment practice, and every single time I speak about this, every single time, it shifts something in me. It changes me. And I own myself. I'm in this journey. That's what I was saying. It's like, although I am holding the space as a guide, I'm in it with you and I'm evolving. And I think Claudia knows this, like I have evolved and evolved and it's never going to end. And you're right. Like I talked about metal element earlier before I popped on this call. And like when I was less certain of my embodiment of this practice, I felt like I had to give people a lot of things to support themselves because like I'm not enough. What I'm sharing, what I'm guiding you for is not enough. So that's a pretty extreme example of where I am now, but there's constant iterations because I am pushing myself to integrate this every day, every moment, and see it all of life through this lens. I'm constantly opening to different levels and ways of experiencing it and sharing it that shifts the message. So when I shift the message, it may even be a similar way that I spoke about it before, but you integrate it at a whole different level. So because this is a practice of energy, it's all of you who come in connection. It's me and where I'm at, but it's also even where we're at in the energy in the universe. So we talked about the Chinese New Year. So depending on the energy of the universe overall, and the season dramatically changes how the class is. So even though I may not be calling it a seasonal class, the whole energy of the class, like when I teach in the fall versus the winter versus the spring, totally different vibe, totally different feel. So it's never the same class. And what is that old adage, some sort of Tao saying, like, you can never step in the same river twice. Like you can never step in the same river once. It's shifting and changing so quickly. So yeah, beautiful. Claudia, any final reflections?
I think, no, I think I've pretty much said what I wanted. I did have one aha the other day. I was thinking that to sum up how your practice is different than others or than Western medicine, I feel like when I go there with a symptom or something, that they give me a medication which causes something else, which causes a circle and a spiral, but I feel like it's a spiral down. And when I come to you, I feel like you give me a way. Now I just go try. And I mean, if it's going to be something serious and I can't do it with this, then it will show itself again some other way. But I don't run to the answer. I just keep trying to work through it. And I feel like that's spiraling me up.
Yeah, that's beautifully said. I mean, I love the spiral. And you're right. When we look at things from a limited angle and only through the lens of disease, it can lead us to this level of stagnation that keeps us stuck, almost like you're right, like a downward spiral. But when we open up at this other level, just like what we've been talking about, all of it is this infinite spiraling, and we're all at different places on that spiraling journey, but it's a spiraling up, but it's also a spiraling in, right? Because that's what it keeps awakening in you, is your connections to you, to your intuitive guidance. So beautifully said. I'll open it up. Does anybody have any questions before we continue on? Any questions in particular for Claudia and her experience? Okay.
I just want to say you're an amazing example of listen, like the example of the answers lie within, and I'm about to teach. I've been teaching in-person classes, but I'm about to teach a online class. And there was a part of me that was a little bit terrified with all the new stuff to learn. But listening to this makes me realize how important it is to get over that, because of possibilities like you. That's absolutely amazing. And then you influence your husband and you influence your whole community by your example of doing all this, really getting that you take care of yourself. So thank you for sharing that.
Well, and as a teacher to a teacher, let me tell you that I also, 3 or 4 years ago, I had to redo my whole way of teaching. and Melissa knows this, she went through that too, but I felt like a really failure because everything I'd been taught about how to teach foreign language was like thrown out the window. And I thought for 30 years, I've done it wrong. And they were the best years of my life. I would have gone on teaching for 20 more years because it was so much fun once I bit that bullet. And it was all a lot of technology and stuff too. And once I did it, I wouldn't do it any other way. And I loved it. So jump in.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Marcy. So yeah, one final thing I want to say that I think is really important. Dynamics of relationships, intimate relationships. So at the spiritual level, the partners we pick, are the parents we pick, the children we pick, there's so many messages in there. And one of the things that's been beautiful to navigate with you, Claudia, well, first when we dive into this, we're like, everybody needs this. They need it right now. And we start seeing, before we really start focusing in here, we start seeing it in everybody else. And we're like, oh, shit. Oh, look at their liver, look at their kidney. They should be doing this energy gate. They should be doing this practice. So that's normal to have that. And I would encourage, all of us to remember that to build those shifts and connections in relationship and shift some of those patterns that we might have, whether they're interpersonal or our desire to help influence others, it comes from in here. It comes from the level of alignment and integration we have in here. So the more that you focus on yourself, then it's just like, it's magic how it starts to transform. And I know for you, Claudia, that's definitely, it's been a challenge because your husband does have a lot of significant health concerns, but your practice has helped you to navigate that and to create a really beautiful energetic influence that he can receive. I don't know if you want to comment on that at all.
Well, I feel like I'm going uphill on that one, but yeah, little by little, he will do the energy gates. I've got him tapping some now. And so and he won't eat the warm food bed at all. He wants everything ice cold. And I'm like, it's hard to stand by and watch somebody else that's complaining that they're having trouble with digestion and he freezes everything. I mean, like he wants iced tea, iced coffee, ice, everything cold. So yeah, it's hard to do that, but little by little, he has made some small changes. And
I think the one that was really sticking out to me right now, because sometimes we can get stuck on certain things, but if we can open ourselves up to the bigger picture and really appreciate, like the shift that I think is really significant was like with all the clearing that you guys have been doing. I mean, like literally like clearing out the house. So there was one day where you had mentioned, without you really directing him.
Yeah.
I forget what happened like in your life, but then all of a sudden he just went up and he just, without there being a fight, and he was very resistant initially to clearing out the clutter.
But yeah, on given days, we collected cookbooks and we have thousands. I have 11 bookshelves full of cookbooks and we don't use them anymore. He cooks, I cook, but we use internet and we use the newer ones. So I'm like, let's get rid of the old ones. But he has attachments to them because they're famous cooks or famous restaurants but I finally convinced him. We've gotten rid of probably 25 boxes of books so far. And the one day I just walked downstairs and he had gone through a whole bunch and he said, you can take those if you want. So yeah, I need him to shift that a little more, but you're right. I have to just be grateful for what I get. As it comes to the rain today, I was disappointed in a way because I wanted to sit out on the patio in the flowers to talk to you. But I love that I don't have to water tonight. My flowers are really happy and it's a nice gentle rain and it's just perfect. So it's what was supposed to happen, right?
Yes. Well, thank you so much. I so deeply appreciate you sharing with us. Thank you. Love you. Yeah. All right. So let me take your pin off. Okay. I'm going to go back to my screen share. So that's the beautiful peony that she was telling you about. And you can see I'm lifting the bigger peony and you can see the little one underneath that bloomed. I mean, just so remarkable. And the smell, so fragrant. It was delicious in my eggs. So in terms of next steps, I have opened up some spots over the next couple of weeks for free one-on-one consultations, so we can talk about, your next steps. And one of the places that's really valuable, I know we've been talking in generalities, but when you can really start to laser focus on the things that are coming up for you in the right now moment and begin to because whatever's speaking to you right now, whatever physical things, emotional things that are coming up, those are your number one guides. And because everything is interconnected, as you start opening up to that, that starts changing everything. And then different things pop up for attention once those things are, you reach completion with those. So it's a good place to start is just by having an open conversation about what's going on in this right now. So that's what these calls are all about, is about exploring that, reminding you of tools, or maybe even giving you additional tools like Claudia was hinting at to tap into in this right now moment, and talking about some of the other opportunities that are coming up, which I want to give you a sneak preview of. So, sneak preview. I have talked about the Dragon's Way Qigong over the past couple of days. Truly, this is the foundation of my practice, this container. And one of the pieces that, I've felt for a very long time, like, how do I create? I've been teaching this class since 2014, so there's a lot of beautiful students out there who've received the essence, this message. And I've been wanting to create more connectivity in the way that I present the class. So almost like it becomes this whole, like a whole community connecting together. So part of me creating the Wellness Lies Within page is to create that container to begin to support that. And then we take it to the next level when we open to this practice together. So the Dragon's Way Qigong program is an immersion. So we really dive into each and every one of those organ systems. It's a 6-week intensive. So we start with an introduction, and then each week thereafter, we're diving into every aspect, body, mind, and spirit of each of the different organs, and really focusing over the course of that 6 weeks, because everything is about energy. So we're opening our minds, and we want to provide from every possible angle the best opportunity to level up our organ function. So using the healing foods, really focusing on nurturing our digestive system. And again, like this integration, like we don't want to wait to the end of the 6 weeks to start practicing integration. We want to start practicing that from day one. How can you very practically be applying this wisdom in your daily life? So that's one of the things that we'll explore over the 6 weeks. And then the practice itself that we've had a little bit of a taste of with the dragon stands between heaven and earth. The Wuming Qigong accelerates your body, mind, spirit healing. And then the final piece of the program is what I call the easy button. So the herbs, as I use them in my practice, and the herbs as they're used in Dragon's Way Qigong, they're not meant to force the body to do something. They're not trying to tell the body that they're missing something, or they're not quite getting it right. It's almost like the way you would nurture and tend to a garden. Let's provide the best possible conditions for growth and transformation to happen. So that is the level that the herbs go to. And if you do decide to dive in, we can talk more about that. In general, the way that herbs are used, and I've been experiencing these herbs since 2009 and using them in practice. And you heard from Claudia, by the way, she's on, I think, 1 blood pressure medication now, just one. So she's always used these herbs in conjunction with her blood pressure medications. They go to different levels, so they don't interfere. And I think she kind of hinted on this, in terms of Western medications, we create a lot of side effects with the effect. So one of the side benefits of using herbs in general, whether it's through Dragon's Way Qigong or through one-on-one practice, is it helps your body to process everything, whether that's the things you're experiencing and that you're trying to heal, emotions that you're taking in, or medications that you require in that right now moment. So it's, I have people that come in on all different sorts of medications. It doesn't oppose, it just helps them to build their energy foundation. So perhaps they eventually won't even require that medication, and it helps them to be able to process that medication. So this is the piece I'm super duper excited about that I will be launching. is that continuity. So, with my life, with my 4 kiddos and everything else in life, I'm not able to just do back to back to back to back classes. I teach the Qigong 3 times a year, but what I want to do is to create a bridge in between the class where we continue to practice together. We continue to meet and share and connect on this collaborative journey. So the structure of this in the fall will be that we'll continue. I offer up another Qigong class. In addition to meeting weekly when we do the Dragon's Way Qigong, we also do another class on Fridays just for an extra level up of practice. But that piece will continue over the months between the class sessions. And every other week we'll connect across Zoom to be able to just, whatever's coming up in that right now moment on our journeys to share and reflect from this place of how do we level up and integrate this practice. The healer lies within. I forget if I said that yet, but that's going to be the name of what the structure of the program that includes the Dragon's Way Qigong and the Dragon's Bridge. So we'll have a private Facebook group that's just for those folks that are in that connective practice. Okay, so as a final challenge, I encourage you, we've taken in a lot. So I would love you to share in Wellness Lies Within, what piece comes up. I know there's been a lot of pieces, but maybe there's one in particular that you just feel like, ooh, this is the one I'm really connecting with, whether it's healing or emotions or it's connecting with a particular organ, and share with us how you're going to begin to integrate that into your daily life. All right, let me get you guys back in gallery mode. So thank you so much for joining me. And we've got 10 minutes left plus for questions. Any questions at all? We've left you speechless. Okay.
Melissa, did you say the fall class is going to be in person?
I didn't say that. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Yeah, so typically when I teach, I like to teach a daytime class and an evening class. So part of what I'm playing with is doing the daytime class in person and the evening class live on Zoom, with the option that, if you need to go between, that's okay. The daytime class will probably be in the morning, like at 10:30 to 12, and the evening class would be at 6:30 on Zoom.
Do you think you're ever going to go back to the evening classes being in person?
So that's a good question. I know it's tough for people who were part of my my feeling with that is there's a greater ease for me to be able to create closure and be able to get back. It's just a lot trying to balance all of this with my family. So having the experience of teaching evening Zoom classes has allowed me to have that realization that energetically it opens up, in time and space, an extra hour that I can be with my family. So also for, Kathleen, since you are someone who's done Dragon's Way before, I don't think you've done Digesting the Universe before. There's going to be a call and hopefully you'll all get notice. So anyone who's ever done the Dragon's Way program before, I'm also going to begin teaching Digesting the Universe again. So it's the next level beyond Dragon's Way Qigong. It's a 3-month intensive where, I don't want to go too much into it, but we'll have, that call is going to be on Tuesday, the 29th at 6:30 p.m. So it's going to be a Q&A Zoom call about what the Digesting the Universe is about. And I want to get a feel for timing to see, I prefer to do it during the day, but I can be flexible with the timing of that. Anyone who is in the container of Digesting the Universe will also be part, the Dragon Bridge, it will all be part of the same connective process. Because one of the things is, this could be your first time ever hearing any of this. Don't think that, even myself, having been immersed in this since 2009, if you have the openness, it can be just like, you can spiral up to the next level. So that's one of the powerful things. There's no other than just the requirement that you take the Dragon's Way Qigong first before digesting the universe, because you want to have that foundation, we're all kind of at the same level. I love to think of this experience as being like a beginner, a beginner's mind, the empty cup, that kind of thing. Yes, thank you, Lindsay. Okay, any other questions?
Yes, Melissa, yesterday when we did I'll call it a pose with our thumbs pointing towards each other, that in itself has what benefit if we're just doing that?
So, well, first of all, like, let's say it doesn't, you don't feel like you can sign on for a full program right now. One thing that I would encourage you to consider, or even in the in-between times, like if you found that to be a very powerful practice, there's even greater exponential benefit to the complete full Dragon's Way Qigong practice. So that is something that you can access online. I think it's $20 to get access to the content of the video. And I will make sure that everybody gets the link to be able to download that if that's something they want to start diving into on their own. So through that practice, Grandmaster Lu, they redid the video in 2018, and so every time I watch it, I get something new. I always watch the instructional portion because there's some other tidbit that he's giving you. The concept is really trying to guide you to deepen your connection with each of the movements. So you build that relationship, build that energy, like Claudia's saying, the slowness, right? Because if you go too fast when you're doing the practice, then you're missing that opportunity to connect in at the energy level and the meridians. So he teaches each of the movements, that the 9 that are helping to open up the energy grid, and then of course connecting in through number 10. As we talked about yesterday, absolutely, that does stand alone. The dragon stands alone. There is exponential benefit when you're doing the movements ahead of time to prepare you to be able to receive. But the connection, what you were really asking for is, what are the benefits of this? Well, it's like you're plugging yourself in. You're aligning yourself to be able to receive. So even if what's going on in here, like you haven't done the preparation, just putting yourself in that alignment is going to begin to bring energy in and move, things that have become stuck, and then open you because of the connection in this practice, taking you, it helps to build, I almost think of it like an infinity loop between the mind and the heart. So it helps to build that connection between you and that intuitive mind just through standing in that position and connecting through the practice.
All right.
Thank you,
Well,
Lizzie.
I recall you made reference to if you got up in the middle of the night and let's say you couldn't get back to sleep and you did that, it put you in the place where you needed to be. But I kind of wondered what was going on physiologically with that.
Yeah, so
What was
every
it
2
doing for
hours, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just saying, what was that doing for you?
So every 2 hours, there's a different organ system that's energetically in charge of the body. So there's literally an energy clock where you can look at that online and it will show you. So 11 p.m. to 1 a.m. is the gallbladder, 1 to 3 a.m. is the liver, 3 to 5 a.m. is the lung, and then 5 to 7 is the large intestine. So what happens, and then there's all the other hours of the day. So as you become, again, like this conscious observer of your physical and emotional experience, you may notice like, wow, okay, at a certain hour each day, there's something that's coming up. Whether it's something physically, you become more fatigued, you become intensely hungry, you become frustrated, or boop, you wake up, right? So you could think of it like these are your inner children. And your inner child is like, okay, sleep. If there's something that like, either it's been in really high engagement, so it's being, there's a high demand. I mean, that's been my thing lately. I've been doing a lot. So my liver's been in overdrive with all the expansion and expression in such a good way, but it's still demanding a lot of my liver. Or because it could be the opposite, that there's a lot that I've been emotionally processing that feels stuck. My liver may wake me up because it's like, you know what, sleep isn't going to cut it. It's not going to cut it. I'm waking you up because I'm asking for love. I'm asking for attention. I'm asking for energy. So when you tap in and plug yourself in at that time, whether it's at nighttime or it's when you're having something come up during the day, then you're giving your body what it really needs. Because basically the highest level of medicine is going to be energy, right? So it's like, let's just bring energy in, and then it's intuitive and it will figure out whatever I need in this right now moment to help its function, help support it. The other piece that can happen, because this is connecting us into our intuition, is there can be all sorts of, downloads and messages and, the consciousness, the purpose of why you're having that experience. So when you tap in, it may just be like, it becomes really crystal clear.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, we have time for one or two more questions before we wrap. Okay, yeah, so that's just the single ones that I did, but they're actually even like, yeah, all the way around here. I'll name them. Maybe Lindsay can track with me. So you've done through the large intestine, and then you have 7 to 9 is the stomach, which is why energetically that's such a great time to fill the stomach. They say breakfast is the most powerful meal of the day. That's when your stomach is most open to receive, 7 to 9. 9 to 11 is the spleen. Eleven to 1 is the small intestine. These are AM to PM. And then 1 PM to 3 PM is the heart, I think. I didn't flip those, and if I did, you guys will figure that out. But it's still, those are part of the same system. It's a 2-hour window. And then 3 to 5 PM is our bladder. And 5 to 7 PM is our kidney. So that's significant. That's a really significant one for many of us, where you may be like, it's like you're going, and your tank is like when you hit that hour of the kidney. So that's a sign. Oh, thank you, love. It's a sign that your kidney is saying, okay, where can you conserve? All right. Miss Rain's feeling sleepy right now, and she's in England, so she's in kidney hour. All right. Thank you, everybody. Any final questions in this last moment? All right. This has been beautiful. Thank you for this opportunity to share my passion. Yeah, I'm so grateful for all of you for connecting and holding space for all of this to birth itself. And first time I've done this, so thank you for your patience with our technological glitches. And I hope to see you again soon. We'll be getting lots of, yeah. Take care, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Melissa.
You're welcome.